The same reason why your father didn't pull out of your mother is the same reason why my Christmas stuff is still up. Some shit just feel right. So what's going on, y'all? Happy Black History Month. Fun fact, the first female black author who was published is actually 12 years old. Only 12 years old. 1 year older than my daughter, Phyllis Wheatley. So a little fun fact for y'all. But today we are talking about something that the YouTube world, I feel, have failed. A lot of these YouTubers have failed to mention. So similar to one of my real reviews I gave about the digital photo lights, all y'all, and straight like that. For all of those who gave bogus and false information about the FX6 being better than an A7S III, and how if you want to be considered like a serious filmmaker and yada yada, all this other bullshit, y'all bogus. And it's because y'all only want Sony to like look at y'all and be like, yeah, we're gonna send y'all some other camera because y'all review our shit the right way. We like y'all, but y'all doing y'all doing a disservice to people like me who trust y'all. And this, you know what I'm saying? So F y'all, straight like that. You know, I don't have any other way to put that. This video is for people who are considering buying the FX6 or the A7S III, or somebody who's like stuck in between. It's to say, like, this video is to answer the question is if you need an FX6 or not, essentially. Now I will say this, depending on the line of work you do, the FX6 can be it's a phenomenal camera. I'm not gonna take that away. But prime example, I would say this, if you are a wedding videographer, you should not, and I repeat, you should not buy the FX6 for wedding films. Like, that is a hell no. So if you are a wedding videographer, the FX6 is not for you. So boom, straight out the gate. So we'll be touching on 5 topics in regards to the FX6 versus the A7S III asterisk with the K3M adapter. The only way I would say the A7S III can really even like bang, or I mean not really, but just so it could be at least more head to head, is you have to have an A7S III with the K3M adapter. Okay, so that's number 1. I forgot I didn't have the K3M adapter up here with me, so I wanted to grab this because this is actually very important. We're gonna touch on image quality, handling and travel, the audio handle and the adapter, right? The learning curve, and the price. So let's start off with the first one. Now, again, just to remind you all, I run a video production based here in Chicago. So what I do is I do a lot of corporate events, interviews, social media ads, content creation for companies. Like, that's my lane. That's what I do. I typically may have an assistant, maybe another person for BTS, but maybe I'm essentially a one-man band who may have assistants, and I may hire a lighting person every now and then, but typically I'm the head honcho. Okay, so if this story is already similar to yours, I can tell you right now, this is gonna be a very interesting video for you. Number 1, image quality, A7S III versus the FX6. Okay, these images are exactly the same. Like right now, I'm showing you some images. Check it out. Tell me what you think. We're testing the cameras, right? And I want y'all to see. I want to see if y'all are able to tell the difference between the cameras. Both are set at 24 frames per second, 10-bit 422. Obviously, you know, I got a variable ND on the FX6. Here's the setup. As you can see, it's boomed over me a little bit. And obviously, there go the cameras. So now y'all know which camera is which. Now, as you all can see from the B-roll and stuff and the snippets I just showed you, you cannot tell the difference between which cameras is which, right? I literally just seen a video of a YouTuber saying like,
oh man, you know, people would tell you the A7S III and the FX6 have the same image quality, but they don't. The FX6 actually has like a little special sauce.
You're a fucking lie. The FX6 doesn't have anything extra special about it. It's the same exact image as the A7S III. There's literally no difference in the picture quality. Now, I know someone would say, well, Shine, you know, what you have in a variable, electronic variable ND, like in the FX6, you don't have to worry about like different colors that you may get on some screw-on ND filters, which, okay, I hear you, but a couple of color tweaks, you can get your image looking exactly the same. And depending on how much money you spend on your variable ND, because if you got like a Freewell or like a Peter McKinnon joint, like you're not, you know, the color cast is not like that, bro. So we can cut that argument there. We just talking about the core base, like image to image, right? Same color grade, same white balance and all that. The FX3, the FX6 and the A7S III looks exactly the same. So if you were considering buying an FX6 or the A7S III because you thought the image quality was like, just the extra sauce, there's not. It's the same damn image. Now we're gonna get into like the handling and travel of the FX6. So Here we have the FX6. Now you've all seen the A7S III plenty of times, right? So like this right here, to get the camera to work, like, you know, this is without a lens, but to have the camera work in the way it's intended to work, right, you have to have this whole setup. So now you have to put all of this extra stuff in a bag or your case. Now this is definitely a little bit harder to put, like, as you can see, this is kind of obscurely made, you feel what I'm saying? So trying to put this into like a travel case may be a little bit harder. I mean, you can put it in your book bag, but then again, you risk it maybe getting damaged and all this and all that. So it's like, I don't think the FX6 is nowhere near as travel friendly as something like the A7S III, especially again when we go back to image quality, you're getting the exact same image. So you telling me I can travel lighter and easier with an A7S III than I can with an FX6? Prime example, even with the monitor, right? The A7S3's technically monitor, the flip out screen, you can just close it and now it makes it more compact to the camera. Versus here, you have to have, like, essentially you need this motherfucker to see anything. So it's not like you can't not take this with you. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you need to make sure you have your monitor with you, and then but the fact that it's like an extra piece means it's something extra you have to consider for when you travel. Now I will say this in regards to handling though, I mean, I'm gonna give it to the FX6. Be like this handle right here, like this, being able to, by the click of a button. So there's a little button right here on this handle, right? You just flip that down and you can adjust this any way you would like. I mean, listen, man, this grip is about as perfect as the first time you made whoopee. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it fits that perfectly around your hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is the perfect grip. It's the perfect form. It's just, okay, the whoopee thing might be a little bit too far, you know what I'm saying? I am talking about a handle, but I'm trying to let you all know the severity of how dope this handle really is. Like, I love this handle. And then on top of that, the handle actually has a custom button inside the handle if you want to remap something, like maybe something like white balance, something like that. I mean, like, or record. You don't want the record button up here, okay, you got another record button down here, or you want to stop recording or anything. Like, grip, the handle, yes, it leaps and bounds better than the grip on the side of the A7S III, but I do feel like you could just buy like something for small rig on a cage and, you know what I'm saying, and kind of get somewhere near the same thing, but it, you know, not as quite, because that FX6 handle, like, that's the truth. That is the best part about that camera to me, in the variable NDs. Now, also in regards to traveling, keep in mind the battery life. So like, this is a big battery, bro. Like, I'm just going ahead and take this out. This is a huge battery in comparison to something that you would get on the A7S III. Now imagine, depending on how long your shoe is, and I get it, you know, obviously these give you like double to almost triple the battery life you get on one single A7S III battery. But then again, like, this is also heavier, and I could pop a lot of those A7S III batteries, if not in my pocket, in my case, or my book bag somewhere. I'm gonna have a harder time trying to store these somewhere than I will on the A7S III. Like, come on, bro. Be real. Let's move into, I would say, in my opinion, one of the most interesting parts, which also kind of coincides with the handling and traveling part, but it's going to be this, the audio handle grip for the FX6. I think that this thing is flawed, right? And I say it's flawed in comparison to the K3M adapter. Now, here's what's dope about the K3M adapter. So number one, you actually have an input for a 3.5 millimeter headphone, 3.5 millimeter audio input, which you do not on the FX6. So right now, for you all to know, if you all have like some dope Rode shotgun mics that you like, you know what I'm saying, that you would want to use on your FX6, scratch that. You cannot use any type of other headphones like shotgun mics or Rode wireless Go's on the FX6 versus what you can on the A7S III K3M adapter. So also too, you get combo jacks on the K3M adapter. So if you got like 1/4 inch threads and XLR, you could use that on the K3M adapter. See? On the FX6, you cannot. You only have XLR. So that's a problem for me, because sometimes, like, I have 1/4 inch stuff, or if I'm doing an event, they may not have XLR and I need to use a 1/4 inch input, and my K3M adapter can use that. You know what I'm saying? Like, or maybe you're at a wedding, you want to have an audio run directly into your camera. Boom, you have so much more versatility with this adapter than you do with the top handle that comes on the FX6. Also, if you want to like move this around, there's an extension cable that comes with the K3M adapter for you to move it differently or reposition on your camera, so you can either hook up a monitor or anything like that. You can reposition this and still get the same functionality out of it but you cannot do that on the FX6. Also, keep this in mind. When in regards to, I mean, I know y'all probably like, but it's not a big deal. If I have a cinema camera, I just want to run audio straight to it. Okay, fine. But if you're doing like a lot of content creation, running gun stuff, you're going to use wireless audio, right? And the Rode Wireless Go 2s are like a phenomenal choice for wireless audio. So let's just say you're shooting an interview, whatever the case is, and you want the audio for a backup. You want to have your Rode Wireless Go 2 come into your camera for like for track 3, then you have your mic for track 2, then you had a boom for track 1. You feel what I'm saying? Not only do you have a backup on a Rode Wireless Go 2 for audio there, but you also have it going directly into your camera. You cannot use any wireless audio options with the FX6. So like that's a huge, especially if you're shooting weddings. If you want the audio coming from the groom directly into your camera, it's from the bride directly into your camera, you can do that. You cannot do that with the FX6. To me, that's an instant hell no. Also, another huge issue with this is if you wanted to use XLR audio with the A7S III, you can still do that and have clearance, or put it on the side of your A7S III, because you can just remount this and you can still use this on a gimbal. If you are trying to use the FX6 on a gimbal, this is a huge part with the handling here, right? And if you got the monitor, you got to take, you know what I'm saying? I've seen some people do it, but it limits your shots greatly, right? You can't get any low shots with this setup if you, or an RS2 or something like that, right? So that means you got to remove this, the FX3 handle, and your monitor. So which in return means either you have no way to monitor what you're shooting, right? Unless you have an external monitor on the side of your camera, but again, now you add more weight to it, and this is like, I could just buy me an A7S III, my monitor is already on the camera. So real quick, after the video, Sean here, right? So technically you can actually, and this shout out to my boy Sean Mouse for pointing this out to me. So technically you can monitor or put your monitor on your camera on an FX6 for gimbal work. You could just have it set up like this. I mean, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this setup here, but you can do it. And I'm thinking maybe even like, you know, you probably could reposition and put it up here, but then you got your top, you know, you could take the top handle off. So technically I was wrong. You can put your monitor on your camera when you are using a gimbal, but I'm just not a fan of this. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of that. You know what I mean? This ain't it for me. And then on top of that, you can't have any reliable scratch audio. You know what I'm saying? Like the only audio you're gonna get is gonna come directly from the camera's, you know what I'm saying, the internal recording, which is terrible. Versus if you have an A7S III, you can put a shotgun mic on your A7S III and still use it and still get phenomenal audio directly to camera, or you can just reposition your K3M adapter and still get XLR audio on a gimbal with the A7S III. You cannot do that with the FX6. Do y'all see what I'm saying? Like, do y'all see the problems that I'm having with the FX6 over the A7S III so far? Like, these are some huge deal breakers for me that I just can't, like, nah, I'm not giving up wireless audio for no camera, bro. Like, I need that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of my work that I do, I need that. So built-in NDs, like, that's cool, but I can buy me a variable ND. You can't, you know what I'm saying? What you gonna buy when you trying to hook up your Rode Wireless Go 2 to your FX6? Ain't shit you could buy. Now, let's talk about the learning curve. Now, there is definitely a learning curve when you're purchasing, like if you're coming from an A7S III to an FX6, I was in this motherfucker like, bro, where do I start? Which is crazy because when I first got the A7S III, I wasn't too confused about those camera menus, and I've never owned a Sony camera before I got the A7S III. So there's definitely a learning curve, and I kind of just want to show you all the menus on an FX6 so you get like a better idea of what I'm talking about. So on an FX6, you do have this, like you do have quick menus, right? And the quick menus are dope. Like you get like here's on the front page. It's easy for you to change stuff, and like, you know, if you want to go to that base ISO 12,800, 800, you could do that. Like that's no problem at all. It tells you like how much time you have left on your SD cards, what video format you're shooting in. Now here's one thing I did not like, and I was like, okay, that might just be a cinema camera thing. But if you are running a gun and you're trying to quickly turn to, you know, 60 frames per second on the A7S III, you can easily do that. On an FX6, watch how long it takes to go to 60 frames per second. Now you want to shoot, right? Here we go. Bro, nah, that's too long, fam. That's too long, bro. Like, I done missed the shot. The client, man, like, hey, did you get that? No, I didn't get it. I had to wait for my camera to switch back on. No, bro. So like that's a no-go for me. That's no, no. Now that's just one part about the, like, as far as dealing with the menu system and stuff that you have to consider. Another thing that you have to consider is just like the overall menu itself, right? So everything looks differently. I mean, now for those, like, if you know, this may be easy to you, but like there's the shooting modes and all that. I feel like you just got like a lot more stuff to go through, a lot more stuff that you gotta know, like, you know what I'm saying, that you just gotta kind of keep in mind that you don't have to keep in mind on the A7S III. It's just like a lot more stuff that you have to do to just get the images you're looking for. And even in regards to you like going to, you know, to me, I feel like it's easier switching picture profiles on an A7S III than it is on an FX6. I guess I'm just used to it. But like, let's just say if you're trying to go like to custom or picture profile off, you gotta go here. Then you gotta go to custom, and then once you switch over to custom, now instead of using like ISO, now you're using like dB gain. So you got like -3B or plus 12 dB. It doesn't necessarily say ISO. It's just gain on like on the sensor itself. So you know, that's something to keep in mind. Now, from what I've researched, apparently, like if you're shooting like in custom, you don't take a hit in dynamic range how you would do on some picture profiles on the A7S III. So I did find that interesting. I think from what I've read or from what I understood, I could be wrong, but on the FX6, you still get the same amount of stops of dynamic range and S-Log that you would in custom, I think, on S-Cinetone. So I have to test that some more, but you know, from what I've understood, like that's how that works. Now, also with the learning curve, I will say that I do love the way you expose on an FX6 in comparison to something like the A7S III. I feel like it is just night and day difference. And I do understand this too with the learning curve. The way you expose an S-Log for the A7S III is completely it's different than how you expose on an FX6. Like they have more of a because it's called Cine L or Cine IL, whatever the case is, Cine L, we can call it Cine EI, whatever. On here, like you have waveforms, and the thing is too, you can set your zebras, like you see where those yellow lines are, you can set your zebras to where you want those to be. And so if you want your mid-tones to be like around middle gray, you know what I'm saying, like 41%, you can literally set your zebras to that. And then you can set your highlights whatever you want to, so you know when you look at this waveform, as long as you're like within a certain percentage that you set, unlike the A7S III, you know that you are perfectly exposed. So I would say that actually it's easier to get exposure on the FX6 than you can the A7S III, but I expect that because it's a cinema camera. So I don't know if that's like a mute point, because it's like, oh yeah, you get this and that, but you know, you should expect it from a cinema camera. So I don't know how much of a victory that is, but nonetheless, I do love the way you monitor your exposure on the FX6 versus the A7S III. And as you can see here, you know, you got your ND and then your base ISO. So let's just say we want to change that base ISO to, you know, let's just change that base ISO to 12,800. You could do that, and then you also have like different exposure indexes in which how it measures the exposure. You're always shooting at 12,800, but the way the index is measuring will be different, and you can also introduce a lot of noise if you don't use this correctly. So you see what I'm saying? There's a learning curve, bro. There's a learning curve. Okay, now we are down to the final thing, which is the price. Okay, the FX6 is $6,000 and the A7S III is, we're gonna say $3,500, right? So you have to ask yourself, is the FX6 worth $2,500 more than an A7S III? Are you on sets whether you have like a lot of cameras and production crews where you need like a lot of these features, right? Did your job specifically ask you to have an FX6? Like now, there's been cases where I've had clients for documentary work who specifically say I have to have XLR audio. They didn't say a cinema camera. They did ask me, do I have like a They did ask if I had like a Canon C70 or anything like that. I said, no, I got an A7S III. And then at the time, the next time I went, I had rented an FX3 so I can get the audio. But then by that time, my K3M adapter had came in and I was able to put this on a gimbal. And I had XLR coming from my A7S III, which sounded phenomenal, right? So if XLR audio is something that you feel like you need for your production, just buy this, because this is better than an FX3 top handle and an FX6 top handle, like easily. Right, the best investment I made for the Sony A7S III, and I actually do a whole nother video talking about this, but this has made me a lot of money. It's a $600. I made that 10 times over, like at least on one job. Yeah, I'm dead serious too. Like, yeah, I be cooking, man. Like these jobs, they pay well. So if you're not somebody who are getting a lot of jobs where they need this type of camera, then obviously the A7S III is the easiest choice, and it's cheaper with everything else that you could buy to make your A7S III into an FX6, and I'm about to tell you how. So with the FX6, so to turn your A7S III into an FX6, this is what you need, right? So the FX6 has a variable ND, but you can buy both variable NDs from somebody like free of like $200. You had a 2 to 5 and a 6 to 9 stock. So okay, an additional $200. But you're like, Sean, you know what I'm saying? And on top of that, you also have IBIS, which you do not have on FX6, which one can argue having IBIS is actually pretty beneficial for what, you know, for running gun shoots, just to kind of have that stabilization. And if you have like a 24-to-105 lens in combination with the active stave on the A7S III, whew, now I get it. You got gyro sensor data for the FX6, I get that. But the gyro sensor, like, that's a whole nother process that you have to do, which people, I hate that people fail to mention. That's a whole nother process that you have to do when it comes to gyro data and to stabilize your footage through like catalyst browse. And then you're gonna introduce a crop on your camera, depending on how much gyro data you need to be stabilized, whatever, right? You're introducing a nice size crop, maybe 10 to 20%, depending on how much you need to crop in, versus you can go ahead either to get you a stabilized lens on the A7S III, or if you want to do active stave with stabilization, you only got that, you know, that little 10% crop, and that's all you got, and you know, you're gonna have steady, like, you know, stable footage versus on the FX6, okay? So now we got variable ND and IBIS, which you do not, you know what I'm saying, that you can compete with on the FX6. Again, $200 more. And you know, you like, well, shiny time code. Okay, a Tentacle Sync E, which you go out for the A7S III, is only an additional $400. Okay. All right, well, Sean, you know what I'm saying? I like the monitor on the FX6. It's gorgeous. I can clearly see what I'm doing, and it got waveforms and other scopes that I can use. Okay, you can buy you a Ninja V for $550. You have a way better display, something bigger with way more monitoring tools. One of those being false color, which you do not get on the FX6. Okay. And then one could argue, okay, what about battery life? You buy you a power, you know what I'm saying? You buy you a battery bank for the A7S III, because it takes power delivery. Now you have like a crazy amount of runtime on your A7S III. You could buy one of those power banks for like, I don't know, $40. So, but you know, excluding battery life, let's just talk about the main three things that I named that the FX6 may have over the A7S III and how much that would cost. So you get all that stuff brand new, right? So you get the A7S III for $3,500. You get the K3M adapter for $600. You get the variable NDs for $200, because you know, I forgot the XLR audio argument, but yeah, you gotta get a K3M adapter. You get the Tentacle Sync E for $400, and then you get the Ninja V for $550. That brings you to a total of $5,250. $5,250 to turn your A7S III into an FX3, and that's if you need all this stuff. The thing is, you can buy all that stuff and grow with time over. You don't have to buy it all in one single package. And then on top of that, most of the stuff you can buy used, so we're just gonna knock off like another $500, and that's putting you at $4,700, bro. $4,700 for an A7S III turned to an FX3 with way better handling, a way better audio connection, and just way more versatility, in my opinion. Man, listen, you can keep the FX6, bro. It's not for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm gonna have a lot of people arguing down, like, well, no, if you depend, again, depends on what you do. But if you are like for example, I'm seeing YouTubers with the FX6 for what? For what? Stop it. The FX6 is a dope camera, right? But if you own an A7S III, it doesn't, you know, to me, along with, you know, the image quality is a total, to me, it should have been better, right? I should have just noticed a difference, but it's just not enough. You know what I'm saying? We need more. Again, smack battle reference, yo, we need more. Fight back, cause nah, man. That's all I got for y'all. I know I want to end the video off differently, but nah, man, that's just the fact. That just is what it is. The FX6 to me is not worth it if you own an A7S III, period. It's your boy Sean B, man. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. If I missed something or missed a talking point that y'all felt I should have brought up, let me know, comment down below. But I feel like I gave y'all, it's a long ass video, but I gave y'all a lot of facts to consider before buying an FX6, especially if you own an A7S III. Find me everywhere, man. Brookssmedia, especially on IG, man. 2 S's. We out. Deuces.